We made this.
Hello and welcome to CHUCKYVISION, the podcast about the Chucky TV series and the surrounding franchise here on the We Made This podcast network. My name's Mark Adams and I am your host. With me at this time is my co-host, Dev Elson. Hello.
Hello, Mark, and hello, everyone. How are you?
I'm good. I've had a busy week, and this always feels a little bit seat of your pants trying to get an episode out as quickly as possible after we've watched it. And as much as I'm enjoying it, I don't want to do it forever, so I'm glad there's only 8 episodes. How are you?
Not as busy as you, but I get what you mean. Getting out on time. It definitely, I guess, adds a meta element to the excitement of the show.
Yeah. Before we talk about this week's episode, which was episode 5, Little Lies. But before we get into that, I've put up some polls on Twitter this week, and they've been really, really successful. At the time of recording, one of them's completed, and 2 of them are still going. So we'll probably talk about them on next week's episode. But I was thinking I might add another poll to our many, many polls. What do you think of which legacy character would you like to see in Series 2? With the categories being Tyler, Glenn/Glenda, Karen, and Jesse and Jade. Out of those 4, which would you like to see return, and which would you not like to see return, Dev?
Oh, they're all interesting. I don't know what Karen could do at this point. Like, I don't know if she's going to be in fighting form, but I definitely think it would be emotional to see her, to see how she is now, and to have some catharsis between Karen and Andy. That would definitely be a really tender moment. Jesse and Jade would be interesting, because, I mean, yeah, what happened to them?
It was a massive surprise that they survived Bride of Chucky, if it's being honest, aren't we?
They literally walk off into the sunset, and that's a strange happy ending for them.
Strange happy ending for Chucky as a whole, really, because you kind of always assume that Chucky's coming back, and he does, but he's gone nowhere near Jesse and Jade that we know of.
That we know of. I'm surprised they haven't maybe got a mention yet. You know, like all the little, like you said, the little Sherlock text things that Devon's been looking up. That feels where Jesse and Jade would be. You know, like when they learn that Chucky is killing everyone off, it'd be like Bonnie and Clyde couple, Jesse and Jade were found murdered. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So yeah, which one do you want to see, and which one do you not want to see, Dev?
We've already talked about it before, but the most interesting that I definitely do want to see is Glenn or Glenda. I definitely want to see what they've done with that, because I want to see how they tackle that, because they acknowledge in this show that Chucky seems to refer to his child as a singular child and gender fluid, and yet at the end of Seed of Chucky, they literally become 2 different people. I want to see how they soft retcon that.
Yeah. Unless one of them's died. But we don't know. I mean, for me, I do feel that Glenn/Glenda would be so brave after Seed did not do well, did not get good reviews. But I also really want to know what happened to Tyler. I really do. I like the idea of Andy, Kyle, and Tyler being this kind of vigilante squad or something like that. But also, you're right about Karen. And I'm also interested in Jesse and Jade, but I do think out of the 4 options, Jesse and Jade is the one I want to see the least. But I do want to see them.
Yeah, I think there's definitely room for all of these just to at least have mentions, close those stories off. Because we've also got, who's the other character in Free? They always refer to her by her last name. It's like
Oh, the
Kincaid?
girlfriend.
Yeah, it's like Kincaid or something.
She was forgettable.
Yeah, she's definitely a light version of Kyle. So, unless they do something completely different with how she is now. But I mean, that there's interest there. And then there's also, I mean, we're talking about Karen, but there's also Chris Sarandon's character from the first film.
True.
He doesn't die. He just
No.
he just disavows everyone who leaves Karen into a mental asylum. So he's kind of an asshole now.
Yeah, he basically is, yeah.
Chris Sarandon has played some fun assholes in some of the 80s movies. So I think they could bring him back and he could, I mean, God, when we get into it in this episode, there are some assholes in this episode. So I think Chris Sarandon could come back and play just really hammered up as an asshole.
Yeah. So I'm actually going to go for Tyler because I think that is the story that I feel is the least tied up. And Jesse and Jade, who I don't want to come back, but I kind of do want them to come back too.
Yeah, if anything, I want them to come back just to be dead. Let's get rid of that happy ending. Let's retcon that.
Wow, Devon. Wow. So the other thing I wanted to talk about before we talk about the episode is we finally have a British release date.
We do, and it's near the end of the show.
From my calculations, the British release date of episode 1 will be just after episode 8 airs in the States. And it's going to be on Sky Max on the 3rd of December, which I'm assuming then means it will end up on Now TV. So we're not going to over-egg this issue, but we are British and we have access to this show. So what I want to make very clear is that I will actually resubscribe to Now TV and rewatch Chucky legally because I want to support the show despite the shitty scheduling that screwed over British people.
Yeah, I know that, Mancini and the crew are probably bound by it as much as we are.
Oh, yeah, it's absolutely no one's fault other than shitty executives who do that. It's obviously not the show's fault. And like I say, we want to support it, and I'm going to watch it legally as well, just to make that very clear.
Yeah, it's definitely awkward. Like, it comes over here as the show's ending, and in days like this with podcasts and even Twitter, like, we know everything that happens, but like, I'm definitely going to watch it again, and I think you can definitely watch this show, even knowing some of the twists and turns. It's entertaining. Okay. It's a great show.
Definitely. In fact, I'm looking forward to my rewatch, if I'm being honest with you.
I am too, because like there's a comfort in knowing where stuff will go. Because I mean, like I just said, some of the asshole characters in this make me really like uncomfortable, and just knowing where stuff goes, it's a lot easier to watch, I find.
Yeah. And the final thing I wanted to talk about is that as of today's recording date, we're recording on the 11th of November, there has been no news on renewal or cancellation. And I had a little bit of a lucky look. And the sensationalist renewing after one episode thing doesn't actually happen as often as you think it does. It's quite often that they don't actually make a decision on renewal or cancellation. However, it seems positive in as much as if a show's going to get cancelled, it tends to get cancelled earlier than this point in the series. So I think this is actually positive news, even though there's no confirmation, is basically what I'm getting at.
Yeah. From what I've seen, the numbers seem to be really good. Like, a lot of people seem to be tuning in when it airs on TV, and that's definitely good. From what I know of sci-fi, from what I've heard of sci-fi, they can be a bit like Netflix in that, like, they can have a successful show, but then for whatever reason, they just drop it. So, it might be unexpected. But I think it's doing well. I believe if we don't go straight into another movie, then Chucky could get picked up by another service.
I think it's a positive sign that it hasn't been cancelled, basically. And the anticipation isn't fun, because I would absolutely love a second series of Chucky to happen. And or another film or whatever. But yeah, it's relatively positive from what you say, the viewing figures and stuff like that. Right, should we get in and talk about episode 5?
Yeah, let's get straight into it, yeah.
Okay, Tommy Wazoo is back.
Oh my god, we watched this like really fresh. And I woke up to Twitter and a bunch of people talking about this episode, and I think I sent you in all capitals. I fucking can't believe how they did Tommy. Not Tommy!
Tommy Wazoo.
I can't believe how they did Charles in the 80s. Did you immediately pick up? Because, I mean, I don't know if it was ruined for me because I knew who they cast, so I could tell immediately. But did it take you a second to twig who was playing Charles Lee Ray in the 80s?
Dev, I didn't actually spot who it was. Was it someone famous?
Oh my god, Mark.
What is it?
Mark, it was Fiona.
Holy fuck!
I should have sent you the Instagram. Oh my, yeah, they did the thing that they did in Halloween Kills when they made a dude look like Donald Pleasance. They put like facial prosthetics on Fiona's jawline to make her look more masculine.
Holy fuck! How did I not spot that? So, Tommy Wazoo was played by Fiona Dourif.
She was playing her own dad, yeah.
Oh shit! How did I? What a frick!
It is the most bonkers casting. It's so fun and silly in all the perfect ways.
But it fucking worked. I clocked that obviously they were using Brad's voice over someone else, but I hadn't clocked it was Fiona Dourif. Oh, that's so clever.
It is clever, and it's just the funniest thing. It's like, it's so funny that she embraces it, and it's like children look like their parents. But I mean, Brad Dourif is kind of a distinctive looking guy, and it's so funny for like a woman to be like, yeah, I look like this weirdo character actor. I look like my dad. It's so wonderful that they've embraced that in such a loving way.
Fuck, that's so good. And oh dear, that's completely thrown me. Shitting hell. I was
Now, this is just the whole episode of CHUCKYVISION. It's just us getting over this.
It's just me going, oh. So, right, let me move on. Let me fucking hell, Fiona Dourif played fucking Chucky as 80s Chucky. Oh, shit, a brick. And what I did like was his first line was "Wanna smoke?" I'm like, oh come on, you're taking the piss.
These flashbacks definitely. There wasn't even really an attempt to be like, oh, this is what it was actually like. It's just like, yeah, it's fan. I say fan service, but in like a completely like genuinely positive way. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, it reminded me when I was looking something up, and I remembered in Seed of Chucky that they just offhandedly mentioned that Martha Stewart's getting executed. And it's like, yeah, this world is fucking nuts. Like, they try to be... There's moments of real humanity in it, but it's not quite our world. So...
No.
So these flashbacks with not only Chucky, but we get Tiffany, they're truly mad.
Yeah, it's bonkers, and I love it. And okay, devil's advocate time, yada yada. If you hadn't seen Child's Play, would this make no sense?
God, my memory of just 4 episodes. They have shown a live Charles, haven't they? Like, I mean, at this age, with the white shirt and the black tie.
Yeah, very, very briefly, yeah. But wasn't it a clip from the film itself?
Yeah, but I mean, I think that's again why they went with that distinctive. That seems to be that one look that Charles wore back then. I think, yeah, they've definitely stuck with that to make sure people get what's going on. Yeah, I think, I don't know, because we're going to get in these flashbacks. I didn't want to spoil it yet, but we're going to get in these flashbacks a twist of
Yes.
who he's with, and like, I guess they didn't want to make things too obvious then, or they're playing with the people who do know what's coming.
Yeah, I think the twist where the two women aren't named, and you assume one is Tiffany and one isn't, and it's the twist is actually very good. I didn't twig that, and I was like, "Where?"
It is very funny though when she suddenly gets Jennifer Tilly's voice.
Yes.
Which again, it's like, I don't really mind in this world because it is just bonkers. It's like, yeah, sure, she suddenly sounds like Jennifer Tilly. Why not?
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Let's move back very briefly. We haven't even got past the brilliant titles yet. Again, so I want to talk about the titles. The hearts becoming the Chucky logo. Oh, it's just great every time. And on previous episodes, I have whined about how the Chucky franchise doesn't have a iconic theme tune. I feel like it does now.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the motif from, I think, Child's Play 2. Which, if I remember right, I did try and defend that movie. I thought there was some motifs. I mean, yeah, there's a few motifs throughout the series.
Yeah, and it's fascinating that you did that and suggested that. I was like, but then because it's been played repeatedly and acknowledged as a theme for the series, I've kind of got more attached to it, and maybe that's kind of what all the other horror themes are. It's just repetition and recognition. You know?
Yeah, well, it is interesting that because the Child's Play, the whole franchise has gone for a few different like themes, and that's because they've usually had like different composers. I did notice when they to cut forward just a bit the flashbacks to Curse and Cult, they play the music from those films. And so that's interesting. It's like, not only are we getting all these characters from different films coming together, we're even getting like the music from different films coming together. Like, literally everything is coming together.
And again, little details like that, little details like the title sequence, little details like, here's your iconic theme. It just shows how much they care about this franchise, I think.
Exactly, yeah. It's no small feat to bring all this together, as we see in this. This is almost an entire episode of trying to bring in all the old characters and stuff. But again, they do it well and they take their time. We're not getting every character suddenly in one episode.
No, we're not. But the characters we do get, it was just good to see him, wasn't it?
It was. But we need to get to that first.
Yes, we need to discuss bad parenting again.
You skipped over a couple little scenes. We got the little hospital, wrapping up from the hospital scene.
Yeah, who the fuck shows their child a burnt doll? What the actual fuck?
Well, she really wanted the doll, and I did wonder, was it going to be 50-50, like, she just ignores that and still loves Chucky? But no, she does not love Chucky anymore.
No. That bloke traumatizes his daughter.
Yeah, and then he chucks Chucky away, and we had a very bizarre scene, like right before the credits, of Chucky swimming in used needles and just having a whale of a time.
Right. Was the implication that there was like tiny amounts of medication left and it gave him a high because he got stabbed by lots of needles?
It definitely seemed like that, yeah.
That's so fucking dark.
And I remember someone pointing that out on Twitter as well, like, in the older films, what's so fun about Brad Dourif's performance is whenever Chucky gets hurt, I mean, Brad Dourif really gives it 110% when he screams and stuff.
Mm.
But it's been so many years that I think Chucky's just so used to the pain now because, like, he got melted and he's being stabbed by syringes and stuff. He just rolls with it now.
And yeah, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about yay drugs.
I mean, it's also a lot of like old blood. Like that can't be good for someone.
No, but you know, can a doll get HIV or Hep C or anything else?
That's what I worried about. He does, as we've established. They seem to have maybe lessened that because in the first film and some of the early films, when the longer he's in the body, he sort of becomes more human and he bleeds and stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas I don't know if that's as true now because it's arguable when his melted face, like it sort of looks fleshy, but it also kind of looks plasticky. It's like I don't know if they're going all the way with that because maybe it's just the fact that obviously at a point every character will be like, "Why does this doll look so weird and human?"
Yeah.
So I think they've just slyly retconned that to make him get away with stuff. But I don't know. Maybe he could get like Hep C or something. That definitely wouldn't be good for any kids playing with him.
No, yeah. The whole thing, when you actually take a step back, is really fucking icky before you've seen any gore.
And then it gets even ickier because fucking Jake and the gang, they want to go looking for Chucky, and they're just like sloshing around in those needles. I mean, they put gloves on, but still, that's dangerous.
Yeah, that was definitely dangerous.
And the Jake standing on the little rickety bucket. Is he going to fall in? There's a nice little scene of tension there, like a different scene, a different kind of tension there.
Yeah. So I just, Devon's so lovely. I know I'm just moving on without you letting. Just Devon. Oh, not you. You're all right. Devon in the show is so lovely, and so full disclosure, I cried twice in this episode. I was a bit emosh for other reasons, but this episode made me cry twice. And the handhold. Oh, just a metaphor of them holding hands with the world going past them so fast. So I'm in a relatively new relationship after being in a relationship that had failed and staying in that relationship for too long. And so I've had a relatively recent experience of what a new relationship feels like. And obviously it was on my private account, not the CHUCKYVISION account, but I tweeted a couple of months ago about how you know someone's special when hours feel like minutes. And that was a direct reference to my partner, to Pete. And I felt like that visual representation of how I still feel about my relationship with Pete. It was just totes emotion. I thought it was really well done, and I cried.
It really was something special, and I'm so glad that it was directed in that way. That they could have just shown it plainly, just them holding hands, just them kissing, like again.
We're not talking about the kiss, or are we going to talk about the kiss? Oh, the kiss.
But I mean, it's like all the other bonkers stuff in this show. I love that they've heightened everything, and they've really heightened the emotions of everything, not just the bad stuff, but like the good stuff as well. And it's, they could have just shot that realistically of them holding hands, but like, I'm really glad that they didn't, because people say like, oh, just you can have it in there, but just don't make a big deal about it. And I'm glad that they went all in on it, and they were like, no, this is a big visual. This is a huge moment for these characters. Like, everybody watching this should be invested.
Well, everyone wanted it, but I still wasn't sure truly whether or not Devon was gay, or, well, he might also be bi, but interested in Jake in a romantic way, at least. And, oh, my heart. It was physical, Dev. I was like, oh, and then I cried. Did I mention I cried? I'm not even remotely embarrassed about the fact that I cried twice.
It was very special.
You didn't cry, did you?
No, but I was just
No, you're so butch and masculine. Look at you being so butch
I was
and
just about to say, I think on a rewatch when I definitely don't think that this like podcast or me making notes is distracting me, but I think on a rewatch when I'm just sitting back watching this, like 100% invested, I think it definitely will hit me then.
with your cold heart. Full disclosure, I don't know whether or not I'd have been that emotionally invested if it was a heterosexual couple. I don't. I think there is some real meaning and strength and joy in seeing the representation. For me, I don't know whether I would have been as emotionally invested if they were straight.
And it is interesting how much of the representation in this, in terms of relationships, is non-straight. Like, you technically have a straight relationship between Chucky and Tiff, but then it's currently not straight.
I would probably suggest that is pan-romantic, pansexual, their relationship.
Yeah. I mean, that's another thing to discuss about, but yeah, that's really interesting. That's, and again, I keep recommending it, but you should try Hannibal. Hannibal has a lot of non-straight relationships in it.
Mate, I've hardly got time to sleep at the moment. Hannibal's got like 100 episodes on it.
No, it's similar to this. It's like 10, 12 per season, and there's like 4 seasons. It goes by fast. There's a really good like lesbian relationship in that, and then there's 2 side characters who are I believe are just gay, and that's like a thing that just comes into it now and again that they just are gay. And the main relationship is like, well, the main relationship between Will and Hannibal is, we've talked about Supernatural as well and how that is very queerbaity. In Hannibal, it's a lot more mature and explorative. Hannibal might just kill anybody and eat anybody, but like he seems to, genuinely care for Will. So there's some very interesting relationships in that show.
Oh, well, we're not going to do a Hannibal. We're not. You can't convince me to do that. And you've already convinced me to do far too much podcasting. So no, no. Oh, that kiss. Oh, Dev, the kiss. It was just so lovely. Oh, and I cried again.
And I love the detail of like this the double kiss, the way they kiss and they look at each other like, oh, this is happening. I love that. That's so, especially since everything they've been through. I feel like that look from Jake is like, oh, this is working. Like, there's like a little moment where it's like all this bad stuff, not just with Chucky, but with like my dad and everything. And it's like, oh, this could work out. This is good. Like, I'm doing the right thing. And they kiss again, and it felt so real and like,
mate, it was just lovely. And then within a microsecond, I was like, yeah, Devon's dying by the end of the series.
it definitely does feel like that to me, because in this relationship, Devon is the one that's instigating all of this. So
Devon's instigating it because Jake is so awkward, and I think because he's the kid that's openly gay and out, and Devon's a little bit more chill about it all. Devon, again, I suspect is probably bi or pan. He almost has confidence because he doesn't feel like he's performing, because I've definitely had that as a gay man, that you sometimes feel like you have to perform. You're expected to know all the formulaic dances at a wedding, for example. You lead the Macarena, or you lead the fucking Saturday night, or the ones by steps. And that's almost expected in a weird stereotype way. And I do feel like if you let it happen, there can be a performance element about being gay. Whereas Devon seems a bit more chilled and down to earth. than Jake on that kind of thing.
Definitely. I think, yeah, what we were saying, that that definitely worries me about Devon, because then, in just terms of like TV characters and stuff, it's like, you can't be this, like, everything's going up great, like, everything's great, because then something bad is definitely going to happen.
He gonna die.
Oh, I hope not.
Me too. I want them to be together forever and love each other, and it's not going to happen. This is fucking Chucky.
Did you notice the little, we were talking about the visuals and stuff with the hand holding. Did you notice the way that they so deliberately shot it is when they kiss, and then when they stop kissing, there's that giant fucking cross in the background?
Yes.
And it's like they didn't really say anything about it, but I see what you're getting at, Dom.
A little bit. I think it's not just Christianity, but the cross is a symbol to represent all religion, I think, in that particular context, because not many religions like us queer folk.
Yeah, I know and we both talked about, is Don putting some of himself into these stories, and I just wonder. I think that was a little bit there where it's like, I'm not going to rant about it, but there it is.
It's not uncommon for gay people to be resentful of religion, particularly the religion that they came from, and in a lot of ways, I'm not going to get into this really, but in a lot of ways, their lived experience justifies that resentment.
I mean, you say not getting into it. I'm surprised that it doesn't seem to be any religious characters in this.
Yeah, and there was a vicar relatively recently, wasn't there? Was it Cult?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, they did talk about religion in that. Yeah, we talked about that in the podcast. That's Don delicately dealing with that whole aspect.
It wasn't delicate, Dev.
Well, like, as delicate as Chucky can be, but...
So not delicate, then?
But you think for a TV show like this, it'd be, just recently, like, Midnight Mass on Netflix. There was a real cunt of a character on that who was this religious woman. And I feel like a show like Chucky, you could really put in a religious woman just to be a complete bitch. But, like,
yeah,
I'm surprised they've not done that.
It's almost a cliche, isn't it? And it does seem like they're trying to avoid cliches.
Yeah. Well, we're going to get up to one mega bitch eventually.
Well, yes. So this is becoming a pattern. I'm moving on from the kiss because I'm probably going to cry again. So I'm moving on from all the lovely gayness, and I think this is becoming a pattern that every week there's what I'm calling my damn quote. And this week, do we care more about how our life looks or how it feels? Damn.
There's some
lines in this, I swear, man.
There are some heavy parenting themes in this show. It's crazy. I did not think it would be that focused on the parents, but like every episode, there are some real serious like moments of drama between the parents in this show.
I think that this could be deliberate, that there's some kind of pure one-liners that are supposed to make you react in the way that I am reacting. It's happened like 3 or 4 times. And if something makes me go, damn, then it's something that you can relate to. And I do feel like I have previously been more concerned about how my life looks compared to how it feels. And I'm not going to do that again. And funnily enough, my life feels better because of that. And things resonate with you when you connect to them in a way that you've experienced it. And this show does, again and again, just keep hitting me round the head with stuff that's like, I wish I thought of that when I was younger, It's
incredible, really, what this show goes for and reaches for, because it's so odd just to think back. Like, Child's Play 1, Andy was a sweet young little boy, can do no wrong. And then Karen was the loving mother who would do anything for her child. It was very simple. It was very classic. And
Mm.
now we're getting into such complicated and real, like, family issues. And it's odd because it's like, I don't think you can compare that really. I mean, maybe Child's Play 2 with like the foster parents and stuff. Like, that was one of the only other films that really went into parenting and family structures. But it's so odd that this show, and it wasn't advertised as this, but like this show is all about like the family unit and how that can be torn apart and like how
Mm.
fake and destructive it can be. It's like, I'm surprised there's so much material in this, and it's not always inherently linked to Chucky or any of his stuff. It's just like these parents would be these parents regardless of any of that stuff.
Yeah. But I almost feel like that's a mantra that everyone should live by. It's one sentence, but it's so important. And the impact, if you can actually genuinely incorporate it into your life, care more about how it feels than how it looks. What a fucking mantra that is.
Yeah, and we get a lot of that in all the parents. You'll have to steer us where we're going, Care, because we get a lot of parenting, Care, a lot of bad parenting. And we definitely get that reflected in the Wheelers as well.
Well, let's talk about Logan's continued abuse. It's fucking grim, and his abuse is more subtle and cerebral than his brother's ever was.
Yeah, I laughed awkwardly during this episode because I remembered back to you saying just last episode how I don't know. I agree. I said it as well, but we were like, oh, maybe Logan could channel this anger into good and towards Chucky. I don't think he's going towards the good side after this episode.
No.
He is definitely becoming more. I mean, they literally say it like he says, "I'm not my brother," and he is kind of.
He's worse, actually. I think, he is damaging this boy's mental health.
Yeah, no, the moment that made me go damn was when Logan grabbed Junior's arm, like really forceful, and I was like, oh shit, like this. Yeah, he is worse than his brother because his brother was lazy in a sense that he like didn't have any kind of facade. Like he just was who he was, and he was stuck in that, and he was miserable because he was stuck in that. Whereas Logan is much more deliberate in that he has built this like life, this very upper middle class life, and he is clearly a very angry and destructive person on the inside.
Let's call a spade here. He is gaslighting his child. He is making the kid blame himself for what he wants him to do. He either is completely deluded or is well aware that his kid doesn't want to do cross country. But the way he talks to him and makes it feel like it's him rather than Logan himself, it's gaslighting. And that is much more cerebral than the way his brother behaved. I want him dead, is what I'm saying, Dev. I want this motherfucker dead.
Yeah, I'm going to get to that point in a second. But I did think a very key line was when he got Junior into the, what was it, the Nationals or the Semi-Nationals. Junior quite rightly was like, but I didn't pass. Like, isn't that unfair? And he says, in life, when you get advantages, you have to take them. And that really threw up so many red flags about his character.
That's privilege right there, isn't it?
Yeah, you get that. You get that in the first episode when you get that contrast where the brothers are together, and it's like, oh, one brother is poor and the other brother is rich, and so the rich guy, he works harder and he gets rewarded and stuff. And it seems very much ahead that it's like, oh, like he does not really deserve this. Like he's definitely been cutting corners and like just, as you say, abusing privilege. And it's a lot of red flags. And that made that like turn in their relationship between him and Junior, like that made me realize, because we get Junior here we were saying, oh, how long is Junior going to be in hospital? I was surprised to see him just in school, like the next episode. I
Yeah.
guess he's not that well. I mean, he's recovering well, but it made me think if, and they keep doing it in this episode, that we get this group core of the Free, and they're like, let's not involve Junior because he wouldn't, understand it and everything. So, like, story wise, why is Junior still here? I think if Junior's going to keep getting pushed by his dad, I think by the end of it, Junior might do what Jake couldn't, and Junior might accidentally or on purpose kill his dad.
Now that's interesting. I thought you were going to say, what is Junior for? He's going to get killed. And then when you said that, I was like, oh.
Because we've also got the character of Bree and how we always thought that, I mean, I think everyone thought that she was having an affair, but now we know that she has cancer, and that, I guess, in a story-wise, makes her like a good guy, because she definitely seems much better in this episode, in that scene where Logan was being aggressive towards Junior. Like, she was very much the voice of reason, like, calm down, please. And so
Yeah,
I think,
feel like a shithead now.
yeah, I think her role in this is that Logan eventually is going to go too far and get abusive towards her, and I think Junior's going to step in, and it's going to end up violent.
Yeah, I think that, again, there were quite a lot of twists in this episode. We've talked about the Tiffany twist, but I think the cancer twist was like a gut punch, because everyone had assumed she was a bad guy because she's a little bit snooty. And yeah, the expectations were completely flipped, and not in a shitty cliche way. I was like, oh. And this show's done that so well on a number of occasions, actually.
It is really interesting, the parents in this, because, and they do the same thing, if we want to go back to the other parents, they do the same thing with Nathan, how they make Nathan a lot more sympathetic in this episode. And it's interesting how it's not like all parents are bad. It's like parents, like Nathan and Bree, can come off snooty, but that's because they're genuinely trying to be like, they think like, oh, if I perform as this, if I, really perform as this kind of parent, then that's what parenting is. And it's a bit more like they are trying, but they don't quite realize it's not the right way to go.
Yeah.
So it's a lot more sympathetic in their cases.
I feel like this explores mental health. As a series, it has done that. But I think this particular episode, the way Junior is traumatized by his dad, but also the way Lexi is traumatized by what she's gone through, and her reaction to the Tommy doll, the absolute trauma and desperation of attacking it. I was like, damn, that's perfect. Because how else would you react in that situation?
Yeah, that scene, we get a lot of interesting scenes with Lexi this episode. And it's the same. It makes me worried because, what we were talking about with Devon, like, and what we've been talking about with a lot of these characters is, are they going to live or are they going to die? We also have to remember the Karen thing, like what the fate of Karen. Like, I'm scared that from like the parents' perspectives, Lexi has either accidentally or deliberately burnt their house down and unintentionally harmed people, and now she's showing signs of like, she's just like putting all this anger towards a doll. And it's the same thing with what I predicted with Junior. Like, Junior is going to accidentally or on purpose kill his dad. And it's like, what's worse than these characters dying is them getting carted away by like the police at the end of the season and suffering the same fate as many of these characters in the past have.
Andy
Yeah.
And Karen are the huge examples. And we never really knew what happened to Kyle, but I suspect she's had a rough time as well.
So yeah, I worry that some of these characters are going to get carted away and, maybe come back, maybe recover, but it's a cycle.
Yeah, and obviously the strongest example of it was Nika as well. Should we talk about Nika?
Oh boy, these scenes. Oh my god, these scenes between. Well, I mean, oh god, it's like Tiff, Chuck, and Nika. Oh my. I kept saying, are we going to get Nika? When are we going to get Nika? I didn't think it was going to be right now. That was crazy.
What, the lesbian love scene?
No, not that. I mean, that was in some of the teasers and the trailers and stuff, and I knew that was happening. Although I find that so funny that like in Seed of Chucky kept making all the Bound jokes. Like everyone knew Jennifer Tilly from Bound, and now we've gone full circle back to Jennifer Tilly doing lesbian scenes again.
Good. So, have I missed something? Why can Chucky walk in Nika's body when he's in Nika's body, but Nika loses the ability to walk when she takes control of the body? Is there something I'm missing there?
I think it's just the voodoo power. Like,
I mean, that is a nice solution to
'cause,
everything.
I mean-
Voodoo power, voodoo, voodoo, give me the power, I beg of you.
because I mean, when he's in the Chucky doll, you know, he's powering the Chucky doll, isn't he?
So what you're saying is, if Nika used voodoo, give me the power, I beg of you, whichever body she ended up in, she wouldn't be able to walk. Is that what you're telling me?
No, I think maybe she could. I think maybe she could walk. I don't know. I'm just saying. I think the voodoo power trumps any physicalness because, like a Chucky doll can't walk on by itself, can it? But Chucky in a Chucky doll can walk.
So the human body is exactly the same puppet as a doll.
Like we've seen in Chucky dolls, you can like hack up Chucky, you can blow him apart, but then like, you know, everyone thinks, oh, we've blown him up, he's done, and then like the little Chucky hand always comes out and grabs someone. I think maybe if you cut Nika's arm off, Chucky could still control that.
Yeah.
I don't think that stops Chucky like in any body. Maybe, I don't know. Although when he was in Alice did die.
Yeah. But what's fascinating is this scene is actually the first time that someone's been able to fight back once they've been possessed. Obviously, a doll won't fight back because there's no consciousness to replace. But Nika actually manages to fight back and take control very briefly. And that's new lore.
I saw on Twitter, though, apparently there is a line in Cult where Chucky says that Alice was fighting back. But this is the first time we've seen it.
That's what I'm getting at, yeah. The first time we've seen it succeed as well.
And that was very interesting. Like, she doesn't have any memory. I mean, God, that's got to be such a mindfuck. She has no idea where she is. She has no idea how long Chucky has been in her and doing everything. That's got to be so scary.
Yeah. Oh, fuck yeah.
And it again, that's such a testament to Fiona because, like, she's playing so many characters in this. She's playing Chucky as Chucky. She's playing Chucky in her body. And then she's also playing Nika again. And I think that transition between Chucky to Nika is so sharp and so dramatic. And, like, the way the guy informs her that she just killed someone, and she like really reacts to that.
Yeah. We've talked about the ability of the actors in this program and how it's been exemplary, but fucking hell, I do feel like Fiona Dourif is another level, particularly after the revelation at the start of this podcast.
That's what I'm saying. She's amazing, and I'm so glad that they brought this idea of Nika fighting back. Because I thought maybe the other characters were going to have to do something, but it's so interesting that we're getting this dynamic of Nika actively fighting Chucky.
Yeah, it's great. Everything is great about this. This episode, do you know? Every time I watch a new episode, I'm like, "That's the best episode. That's the best episode," and maybe I'm just enjoying the experience and I can't think rationally. And as I get further along, I'm more and more excited as the story develops. It could have been the worst fucking episode, but because it's given me more, I'm like, oh, I'm so excited for what happens next. I don't feel like I can be unbiased when we're talking about this because I'm just having the best time.
I am having a such fair. Well, I mean, maybe I'll say it now. I mean, like, I definitely think maybe I was watching or have been watching this a bit more, what's the word, mechanically than you. I'm definitely invested in all the characters and everything, but like, I always keep seeing it as like what's this character going to do, and what would this character like? What would the most dramatic conflict of this character be? Like, I always keep thinking of it in like technical terms like that. And I will say, for all the amazing stuff in this episode, it is also maybe the closest to a filler episode. In like, it's to slightly twist the words, it's one step backwards and two steps forward.
Oh, how can this possibly be filler with all the fucking lore expansion?
Yes, all that stuff is great, but then like, I guess it would be the A plot is that the three main kids, they want to, well, they're all teamed together now to kill Chucky. And I thought them smashing the doll and then for like most of that episode being like, we did it, we killed Chucky. I thought, even by their perspectives, they should know that it's not this easy.
Yeah, it's obviously the classic audience knows more than the protagonists thing, and the uplifting music bordered on the cheesy. But then we got the kiss, so all was forgiven. I'm not having a bad word said about this episode. Fuck off.
I'm just saying they should know better.
Get on my ass, there was the kiss. Fuck off.
Devin knows who Charles Lee Ray is. He's like, he should have been like, guys, Chucky's been coming back since the 80s. Like, he always comes back. We should just double check that he is dead.
I'm not. Yeah, maybe. But then there was the kiss, Devon, and it was lovely, and I cried.
I will grant him that. Yeah, I think he was more distracted with. Like, if Devon was going to be the voice of reason, I think he was more emotionally distracted with, like, oh, I can get on with this relationship now.
Oh, and they had a kiss, Dev, and it was lovely. I cried. Did I mention that I cried? I'm nearly crying now because I'm a bit emotional. Oh, I've had a busy week. Right, talk about Chucky. Anything else? Talk about Chucky. Right, so again, going back to the mental health thing. As a studying self-loathing and shit mental health, Two-Faced Chucky being jealous of Pretty Chucky. That's like when you look at pictures of yourself in your 20s and your 40s and go, fucking hell, I was hot. And what use is that to anybody? Unless you've got the power of voodoo.
That's a funny part of Chucky. I think he definitely rolls with the punches. I wonder if I get the impression that he really likes the body he's in with Nika as well. Like he definitely flaunts the body he's in.
Yeah, I think so.
Which is an interesting element. I don't think he does at this point think of like. I mean, well, he's lived half his life as a fucking doll. I don't think he thinks as like gender in the same way that other people do. He's just like, this is a fresh young body.
I think if I was able to voodoo myself into a woman, if it was ethical, like, can I borrow your body for an hour? You can have a go with mine. We'll do a swapsy. I would absolutely want to know what it would be like to have sex as a woman. Absolutely, I would. But I would only do it if it was ethical and consensual to do so. And I don't think that's the case with Nika.
No, I definitely don't want to veer into that serious topic, but it is very icky when you think about what Tiffany is doing to Nika, yeah.
It's hideous violation. Not just by Chucky, but you're right, by Tiffany as well. It's, frankly, Tiffany is raping her.
Yeah.
It's horrible. Absolutely horrible. And the fact that you can then take a step back from a character that you know is violating someone's mind and then allowing someone to violate that same person's body and then go, oh, poor half-faced Chucky. He's jealous of other Chucky. What's wrong with me? Why do I feel sympathy for this utterly irredeemable cunt?
Oh, we shouldn't do, but it's amazing how they keep doing that with these characters. And I wonder that again, it's not even really prediction. I'm just shooting out ideas and stuff. But it's like, if Chucky is now technically like in his 70s, but he's in the body of a young person, like I think Fiona's like 30 something, early 30s. Like, yeah,
Hmm.
he can de-age. We also had that callback to the classic Bride of Chucky when, Tiffany always talking about what her mother used to say. We get
Yes.
that sort of relationship trouble between the two. And like, I wonder if they're going to at some point say, like, as much as I love you, Tiff, can you get in a younger body? Because you're starting to get old.
Poor Jennifer Tilly.
I'm not saying that. Chucky's saying that. I think Jennifer Tilly looks fantastic, but I feel that's something Chucky would say at some point.
Well, Chucky called her fat.
Yeah, I think Chucky would probably try and pressure her into a younger body.
Jennifer Tilly has had nothing but abuse from Don Mancini. Everything he's written about her has not been flattering. I'm sure she's thoroughly enjoying playing a long lol, but fucking hell. Either that or she's desperate for money.
It reminded me, it did call back to Seed of Chucky, was it? Jennifer Tilly was always eating in that as well.
Yes. Oh, man. I'm nearly done, but the fact that Tiffany calls him Chucky, love that. And also, hey, Red, wanna play? I'm like, come on.
I love that they didn't even fuck around. They just got to it. They were just like, you should be Chucky, you should be blonde. That's it. That's the backstory we need for that.
Yeah, brilliant. And last thing on the 80s stuff, the 80s cuts, man. Ah, beautiful. Again, going back to how these touches that show just how much the people involved care. I just 80s cuts, man.
Yeah, it gave me vibes of like cruising and what's the other one, like The Hunger and stuff.
You
like
go cruising?
Well, what I mean in specifically Chucky in the Club.
Do you go cruising?
No, I meant the film.
Oh, sorry.
Capital C cruising. But we've already seen Chucky at that family barbecue in Curse and how out of place he looked there.
Yeah.
But he looked strangely, I mean, maybe, I don't know if that was maybe just Fiona bringing the swagger to that character, but Chucky felt really in place at a nightclub.
Yeah. So Tommy ran away. We assumed that there were two Chuckies, but it wasn't, and it was another nice little twist.
Yeah, they've kept that very straight so far, just the one Chucky, and now I guess we're finally getting two Chuckies, but it's still just $1 at the moment.
Yeah, and I just assumed that there were, because of the implication in the hospital episode 4, we couldn't see the face of that Chucky, whether it was burnt face Chucky or another Chucky. Turns out it was burnt face Chucky by the looks of things, because there's only one Chucky. But the seed had been sown for us to think that Tommy doll had already got some of Chucky's soul in it, and it didn't. And that's just a nice touch that this jealous, two-faced Chucky actually acted on his jealousy. And that's fascinating in as much as, is this schizophrenia? Are these independent thoughts for different Chuckies? And it just opens it up, I think.
Yeah, it's fun that they've. I like how they're taking the time with it. Like, they could have gone all crazy with multiple Chuckies right at the start. But I think they're really taking the time. And I think, like you said, like they are the same Chucky, but they want to take the time in defining them.
But again, when each Chucky ends, does the main Chucky, which I think is the one in Nika, or it might be the decapitated head that Andy owns, we don't know. But is there a main Chucky? And do all the memories kind of go streaming back to that Chucky? How does this actually work?
I think what we saw in Cult, and we might be going over what we already said in the Cult episode, but I think like the memories from one Chucky go into the new Chucky, but they don't share memories. There's no hive mind. Because Andy does that trick with the gun Chucky, doesn't he? And the other Chuckies wouldn't know that.
So does this mean that each Chucky is a separate entity with different emotions, and at each split point, they become a different person? And, this is so... I can't wait for this to be just more study on this, more psychology, more sci-fi fucking body consciousness, etc. bollocks. I love it. I love that it's vague. I love that it's confusing. And I love that there's so much more to learn and understand. And it's great. It's just great. I'm excited, Dev. And I cried.
I mean, what more can you ask for?
We can ask for Michelle's speech to not go very well.
I was so glad that immediately bombed, because I was like, if she even gets away with this in the slightest.
Yeah, the insincerity came through. It reminded me in a weird way of what's his name from The Simpsons? Mayor Quimby.
Oh,
it
yeah.
reminded me of Quimby, how utterly inept and self-obsessed and deluded she was. About Quimby. And that just made me think of that.
I laughed. It was probably the biggest laugh in this episode when that random guy in the audience went, "You're an idiot!"
It was great. It was great. It was great. And then it was only when it happened, because I've been so preoccupied with wibbly wobbly soul splitting shit and kisses and lesbian sex and etc. I hadn't clocked that there hadn't been a death until someone said.
That was such a wild kill at the end. I mean, it's so simple, but it's just so fun. And they used the music that they used in the trailer, the fucking yeah, yeah, yeahs again.
Yeah.
So obvious, just heads will roll. But like, fuck it. I mean, we've already talked about the amazing amount of subtlety and some of the characters and stuff in this. It doesn't need to all be subtle. Sometimes obviousness is great as well.
Do you know, I think some artists will cynically write a track, probably since Bodies by Drowning Pool, since that was used for every horror film ever, and a lot of wrestling shows and goodness knows what else. I think Heads Will Roll was probably a track written deliberately in a, we will get a lot of licensing money for this. Call me a cynic, but what's the Billie Eilish one? You Look Good in a Crown or whatever. Again, that's been used everywhere because it fits anyone with an ego. It's just great. And I think, I wonder whether that song was written cynically for that reason. But I don't care because it was cool.
Yeah, I was about to say Billie Eilish. Like, everyone used that I'm the Bad Guy.
Yes, that's another one, wasn't it?
That feels like that would be a needle drop when Chucky eventually, inevitably, does something really shitty towards Tiffany. It was like, yeah, no shit.
The fact that we're laughing at his abuse of his partner. We're horrible people. I think you need to be a little bit horrible to watch Chucky.
Well, that's what Chucky wants, isn't it? That's
Yeah.
what Chucky wanted with Jake. That's what Chucky wants with everyone.
It's just hit after hit after hit after hit. Oh man, what an episode. I know I've said it 4 times, but this is the best episode yet. Oh, that's fucking great. I think I'm going to struggle to be anything other than gushy rather than critical about this. I can do it with stuff like Red Dwarf on Shipwrecked and Comatose, my podcast about that show, because I've watched Red Dwarf 100 times and I can now take a step back, look at something that I love, but also be able to watch it critically and come back to it with a more critical eye. I am really struggling with Chucky because, let's be frank, we watch it 1 or 2 times before we record the episode, and I'm just so fucking excited for this series.
I am too, yeah. I mean, I think even critically, like, for me, like, I've said 1 or 2 things, like, minor things, and they are nitpicks. But, like, I've also critically really praised this show. Like, it's not just in all the in all the franchises, slash franchises that just keep going. This is not just keep going. This is genuinely really good TV. And I'm like I said with all the parent stuff, I'm surprised how much good writing and how much good character stuff is in this show.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Well, I've got a couple minor points. One, Junior brings up Westworld, which is the second time that's been name dropped in this show.
Yeah.
And I liked how Junior just completely missed the point of the show and was like, yeah, it's cool cowboy land. And then, which I guess maybe is like a reference on this show. It's like, yeah, it's Chucky, but there's also real stuff going on as well.
Yeah. I've not seen Westworld. I keep meaning to.
It's incredibly dense. Like, there's a lot of stuff in it where it's like people are just saying shit, and it's like, huh, what?
Right.
It's a lot of philosophy, but it's also quite fun. It's a good show. I haven't finished it. I haven't finished season 3, but season 1 and 2 are good. And then, the other thing that made me laugh out loud was we've talked about how the Damballa incantation has always changed as the series went on. Like, it's either got shorter or easier, like, or less lightning. I laughed out loud at the whispering version in this. It was just so quiet, and it was like, this is not how it was in Child's Play 1.
Yeah, and again, if we're going to headcanon it a little bit, I would argue that as he's used more voodoo and started to understand it better, it's like, I don't know, it's like as you get better at something, you can do it more subtly. And that's kind of tropey when it comes to magic across role-playing games and perhaps something like Doctor Strange in the MCU as well.
Yeah, I buy that, yeah. And I think, like,
it is a little bit headcanon, but still.
Yeah, I don't think that's even a nitpick. Like, I don't care how they do that. I love all the variations on this incantation. It's just funny how many different ways you can do it. But, yeah, the last thing I was going to do, I don't know if we want to make this a running thing. At this point, we're already way through, but I've watched the teaser for next episode. Do you want to know some teasers?
No!
You don't want to know any?
No, sod off. No spoilers.
It's not spoilers. It's meant to play right after the episode.
It's fucking spoilers. I deliberately don't watch that shit. Get in the sea.
There's some very interesting stuff.
No, shush. Don't like it. I don't want it. It's a modern fucking phenomenon. They do want everything, including RuPaul's Drag Race. But I'm like, I don't want to see what the queens do next week. Fuck off. I always switch that shit off. So, no, I haven't watched it. No, I don't want to know what it says. Stop it. Oh, dear. No. It's a horrible modern phenomenon that I don't like. Right, so we're not going to do that. So we're going to finish the show and we're going to talk about where people can find us on the internet. Dev, where can people find you?
Well, you can always find me on Twitter. I'm at Absolute Travis T. I've got a little link tree in the bio where you can find wherever else I'm at. Where I'm else at the moment, I'm bringing back one of my other podcasts, Forever Friday. It's about the Friday the 13th franchise, if you love your horror franchises. And we get into all the minutiae, just like we do on Chucky Vision. That is coming back this Friday, or last Friday, or whenever you're watching it. It's coming back Friday, and it's going to be regular Fridays from there on, so tune in for that. And then I'm also, I think I talked about going back on Twitch. I'm on Twitch now. I've been streaming for the last few days, so find me at twitch.tv/shootthatnebula, and I stream 7, 8 p.m.-ish. So find me on there.
Brilliant. I'm looking forward to more Forever Friday because I've actually just recently started listening to that. And yeah, I thought we were daft.
Yeah, Forever Friday is a little bit more sillier than this.
I mean, this is pretty silly. I feel like this episode in particular has been a little bit off the wall. I'm in a bit of a funny mood. Maybe because I cried twice yesterday. But anyway. If you're looking for me, it's at Mark Adams HC on Twitter and Instagram. Oh, I don't know what I'm going to plug today. If you want me to do your wedding, funeral, or naming ceremony, I am a humanist celebrant. If you're interested in that kind of thing, you can have a look at my website, www.humanist.org.uk/Mark Adams. That is actually my job. And yeah, be nice if people employed me. So, you want a completely unique ceremony written for you, get in touch. Right, so thank you very much for listening to Chucky Vision. We'll be back next week for episode 6. And I can't wait. But until then, wanna play? CHUCKYVISION is a podcast brought to you by the We Made This network. Follow us on Twitter at CHUCKYVISION. Follow the network on Twitter at WMT_network. Our website is WeMadeThisNetwork.com. The logo was designed by Dev, and the theme tune composed by Dark Fantasy Studios. Wanna play?
Hello everyone, this is Tony, Network Chief of We Made This. As you know, our podcast network brings together a brilliant assortment of talent who talk about all kinds of pop culture content, such as the episode you've just listened to. We're not going anywhere, but we'd love to keep the lights on for even longer if you're able to support our network on Patreon. For just £2 a month, you get your name in lights and the satisfaction of knowing you're helping us produce more great audio. And for £3 a month, you'll get your name in lights, but you'll also get access to an exclusive bi-monthly podcast from the We Made This talent pool on podcasting, pop culture, and, well, you tell us. We'll take your suggestions. For less than the price of a coffee per month, you can help keep We Made This going. Just head to patreon.com/We Made This. That's patreon.com/We Made This. And get the ball rolling. Elsewhere on We Made This. We dig music.
I feel that this is the first song that properly ripped into R. Kelly as well.
Which is amazing.
Wow.
Yeah. Right, so R. Kelly has
Bang on time.
only just been convicted.
Yeah.
The first time I ever heard of R. Kelly was reading Smash Hits. So this is before I'd even started reading Kerrang. So I started getting Kerrang in 95, so this must have been 94.
Yep.
And it was when...
He married Aaliyah, who was
Aaliyah-
14
yeah,
at the time.
basically Aaliyah had just released her album Age Ain't Nothing But a Number.
The Movie Palace Podcast.
The book I want to tell you about is The Art of American Screen Acting, 1912 to 1960, by Dan Callahan. What I try to do in my movie programs is introduce people to films they haven't seen, and some of these people are younger viewers who haven't watched a lot of classic cinema, especially anything predating Star Wars. They'll often make comments like, "I really like the movie, but the acting back then was pretty awful." The Art of American Screen Acting meets such comments head on.
Observing the Pattern, a Fringe podcast. So there is a real element of redemption. You know, we talk about William Bell getting redemption in this episode, or redeeming himself for his actions with his sacrifice, but the whole arc of Fringe is in many ways Walter redeeming himself as well, and realising what he's done wrong, for one thing, and realising where he's gone wrong, and coming to terms with that. So yeah, this is a very key point, I think, in that whole macro story of Fringe, as well as Walter's character.
Yeah, definitely. And there's also an element that we discussed in a previous episode about the weaponization of children.
Check out all of these shows and more on the We Made This podcast network.